Okay. Hello guys, and Aquaba to a new episode. So today I'm not in my studio. I'm outdoor because I'm currently testing out the 6D Mark II. I did a review on this camera last year, and I'm trying to test the whole low light situation with this camera. How does this camera performs in low light? The only source of light I have right here is coming out from this place, which is a flag light, and the lens I'm using is the 35mm Sigma lens. Let me know what you think about the 6D Mark II in a low light situation. So today we are gonna do a Q&A, and this is something that I want to do at the beginning of every year. So the first question is, what's the best video and photo camera to buy as a beginner? I think if you have the money and you're starting, you should get a pro camera, so when you move from the beginner stage to intermediate or the pro stage, your camera doesn't feel more like a lesser camera and you can still use it in that pro level. One of the cameras that I'm gonna recommend for you currently will be the Canon EOS R8. This camera was just released, I think, last week. I'm yet to do a video on it, my first impressions on it, what I think about that camera. But I think when you're starting out right now, that camera is one of the cameras that you should look at. Another one that I'm going to recommend, this is not a pro camera, it's a semi-pro camera, and that will be the Sony ZV-10. I think the Sony ZV-10 is a very good camera because it has a lot of auto features that if you are new to the camera world, you can just use the auto settings and you can still get some decent videos and pictures. And when you start going into the professional side of things, then you can now go into the manual mode of the camera. So that will be the two cameras I recommend for a beginner. Now the second question is, what's the best camera to buy as a novice? As a novice, I would rather prefer you to have a bit of knowledge about what photography or videography or filmmaking is before you start thinking of getting a camera, because there are a lot of cameras on the market today, but they all fall in different categories. So if you're a novice, I would rather prefer you get to understand where you want to go first before you start thinking of buying a camera. The third question is having different lenses important to have as a beginner? As a beginner, I don't think it's really important for you to have different lenses. I think as a beginner, when you get a zoom lens, maybe let's take for instance like a 24-70 lens, that is okay enough for you because you can get from the range of 24-70, which a lot of things that you may be doing will fall in that range. The reason why I'm saying it's not good for a beginner to have a lot of lenses is when you're a beginner, you have the interest. Sometimes you might even know where you're going, but on your way or on the course of your journey, you might try to move into a different direction. So if you buy all your lenses right from the beginning stage and now you have to switch all those lenses because your interest has changed, that will be very hectic for you. So I don't think it's advisable. Just get a zoom lens, a decent zoom lens, and that will be enough. So the next question is, what's the best operating system to use as a photo and video editor? Is it Mac or Windows? I think both operating systems are okay. I don't think I'm going to pick one over the other. But when it comes to which system, whether a PC or a Mac, I would say currently I would go for a Mac because of the M1 chip and newly released M2 chips. These chips were optimized for creators and they do well in most of the creative apps that we creators might need. When you have a Mac, I think it simplifies things. I remember when I was building my PC, it really had a very big load on me because I had to really understand how building PC works. I had to watch a lot of videos, spend a lot of money because that was my first build and I didn't know certain things. I picked wrong decisions. I think just get a Mac and you'll be okay. Just get a decent mark and you'll be okay. The next question is, are mobile versions of Adobe Creative apps reliable? I've used the mobile app and I continue to use it though, Adobe Lightroom. I've been using that for a while now. I remember when I started, that was one of the first apps that I downloaded and I started using. I think Up to Date is one of the best apps, in my opinion, when it comes to the Adobe Creative apps, and that is the one that I mostly use. It has a lot of pro features that if you are using just that, I think you can edit decent pictures, especially when you have the paid version. Yeah, it's a very decent app. So that is what I would say is the best. The rest I haven't tried them out, so I can't really say much about it. So the next question is, how reliable are phone cameras compared to a DSLR and a mirrorless camera? I would say phone cameras have their department and mirrorless or DSLRs to have their department. There are certain situations where just picking up your phone and taking some pictures or taking some videos is more convenient than setting up a mirrorless camera or a DSLR camera, And there are certain situations that I'm going for a DSLR camera. So I think they all live in different categories. So I wouldn't pick one over the other, but I think they all have a role to play in this creative space. What are some of the challenges in movie making aside financials? Wow. So I'm going to talk about Ghana because I live in Ghana and I practice my filmmaking in Ghana here. Aside financial problem, one particular thing that is also a big problem is getting competent people, because I've spoken to a lot of people that quote unquote they claim to be filmmakers, and there are certain things, especially when I meet someone and the person is like, I'm a sound guy. I try to have a conversation with the person, try to know what the person knows, try to learn from the person as well. And some people, I realize they don't even know much about the thing that they say they do. And for them to do more research, learn more, they just call themselves sound guys, or cinematographer, and just basic things in cinematography, they don't know. Basic things in sound, they don't know. And that is a big problem, because when you are going to make a film in Ghana, you're trying to find other people, when you're a director, you've written your script, you're trying to find good cinematographers, trying to find good editors, there are just some few people, but there are a lot of people that claim to be filmmakers, but they don't know much. So yeah, that is a big problem. We have less competent people in the industry. The next question is how to get started with filmmaking. I think the best way to start filmmaking is to learn, study, educate yourself. Don't even think of shooting anything or buying any equipment, or just learn. That's what I did. In the beginning, I was just learning constantly. And when I got to a point where I got some few understanding, that was when I started doing some gigs here and there, started buying some equipment, So I think the first thing you need to do is to learn. Just learn, just feed your mind, just feed your mind, explore, go to movie events, film festivals. Yes, just explore before you even start anything. When is your first movie coming out? Wow. When is my first movie coming out? My first movie is not going to come out anytime soon. That I promise you, when it comes out, it's going to be a very good movie. That I can promise you. But I think for short films this year, I'm going to release some few short films. We see how those ones go, and we'll see how we can prepare for the movie. So if you are not subscribed yet, please consider subscribing, so when my short films comes out, you don't miss out. So the next question is, what's the difference between filmmaking and cinematography? First of all, what I would want to say is cinematography is under filmmaking, just as we have the sound, the editing, color grading, all these things are under filmmaking. So cinematography, in my opinion, I would simplify cinematography to be how best you make a video feel like a movie, It has to do with the visuals, basically how the scene is being captured, how your scene is being lit, how your scene is being color graded, the movement, are using a medium shot, a wide shot, these are what I would consider as cinematography. So cinematography basically makes whatever you do, whatever you're shooting, feel more like a movie, if I should put it that way. How challenging is it to run this channel? Wow. It's tough because I'm currently doing 9 to 5. My only free days are weekends, and to prepare, to shoot, to edit, upload, try and share it to people is a lot. Very challenging. If I wasn't doing the 9 to 5, that would be a little bit less stressful. But because I'm doing 9 to 5, it's a little bit difficult. And where I'm shooting currently is my parents' living room. So the moment I'm done shooting, I need to bring everything down and set up the place again for them. And anytime I want to shoot, I need to reassemble everything again and shoot. So it's challenging, but we know where we are going, so we overlook the challenges. Which camera brand is your favorite and why? I'm going to say Canon because I've shot on Canon for a very long time. But I'm a filmmaker. I go with whatever works for me on that day, on that project. So if I'm doing something and I think Sony is going to work out for me, I'm going in for Sony. If I think Blackmagic, I'm going for Blackmagic. Red, I'm going for Red. I love Canon, but we can go in for any other camera any day. Yeah. So the next question is your setup, lighting, how many angles do you shoot from? I think this question is directed towards my studio shoots, the videos I shoot in my studio. I'm also trying to find out my setup, how my setup is, my lighting, and how many angles I shoot from. I think for this question, I'm gonna make a video on how I set up my angles for YouTube. So I'm gonna do a different video for that. So the next question is, what drives you to do what you do best? I love filmmaking, and filmmaking gives me the opportunity to create, and it puts me in the shoes of other people. Sometimes when I'm writing and I'm writing about someone who is a chef, it puts me in the shoes of that person, and it's a nice experience because when you are writing, you have to do some research and other stuff. And when you sometimes do this research and you get to learn how people in other fields work and how their work is, it's a nice feeling. So I think that's what drives me to do what I do. So next question is, what do you think makes a great film? So I think what makes a great film is a film that speaks to you, entertains you, and educates you. You learn something new the moment you watch the film. It's a good film. That's what I would say a good film is. The next question is, what are the most important elements of filmmaking? I think all the elements of filmmaking is important, but I think there are certain areas that you need to be very careful, especially if you're a director. You need to be very careful in selecting the right people for those areas, But I think all the elements are important. So, yeah. What inspired you to venture into filmmaking? I think the gift that I have is a gift from God, and it wasn't even one of the things I wanted to do. Like, it wasn't even close to what I wanted to do. And filmmaking found me. So that's what I'll say. Filmmaking found me, and I'm glad I'm here. The next question is, what camera would be great for videos and pictures for an organization's day-to-day use? Example, like church, especially if the organization doesn't have a high budget for camera equipment. Everything about camera equipment is expensive. So I would prefer you just go in for the best that will work out for you. Because if you try to cut corners, it will come back to bite you. So just go in for the best and be free. That's what I'll say. So the next question is, why photography or videography? I think photography and videography puts you in a situation for you to create new things, and I believe I'm a creative. To be able to visualize things in my mind and then see whatever I had in mind physically or for people to also visualize that, I think is a nice venture. So the next question is, what makes you stand out from the others doing it? I think what makes me stand out is the environment I grew up in, where I came from. That's one of the things that makes me stand out, and I believe that's what makes other people also stand out. And past experience, these are some of the things that make every creative, I believe, makes every creative stand out. We go through different experiences, and I believe these experiences have some influence in what we do. So the next question is, can I rely on photo editing apps that take away the long hours of editing when working on big projects? I don't know if this question is related to AI photo editing apps. Personally, I would say, fine, they are good, they are there, but nah, I'm not going for that. I would like to work on my stuff manually, try and stay not totally away from AI stuff, but not letting do everything for me. That's what I'll say. So the next question is, are there any alternatives to Adobe Creative software? Yeah. There are a lot of alternatives there, but I think what makes Adobe stand out and keeps Adobe up there for me would be the whole connection between the various apps. If I work on something in Premiere Pro, I can take it to After Effects or work on it. I don't have to export it. It saves in Premiere Pro and I can continue editing, the entire workflow. Like, even though Adobe has its own issues, but yeah, this is far better. The next question is, how do you maintain a camera? It's just like maintaining any other thing, trying to go through all those safety measures. Just keep it clean. And try not to drop it. That's what I'll say. How exactly do you manage to get a creative shot? Because someone can take a pic of an apple or something, and for the first time you see it as different. Yeah, so that's what I said earlier on, past experiences. The next question is, I'm not a professional photographer, and since you know cameras very well, what kind of camera would you recommend I buy? I would like one that is affordable but takes good pictures for everyday use, not for professional use. I'm going to recommend two cameras. That would be the newly released Canon R50 and the ZV-E10. These are cameras that are more affordable and they have a lot of auto features that you just put it on auto and you are good to go. Now I'm going to do a comparison on these two cameras and go deep down into what they can do. So subscribe so you don't miss these videos. Next question is, what are the necessary procedures you go through when going for a gig? I think one of the things that I would say is, when going for a gig, be calm. When things are not going on right, don't be worried, don't be nervous, just be calm. Because at the end of the day, then ain't see that. And prepare well, weeks ahead of the shoot. You have to make sure everything is ready. If you are supposed to rent out stuff, make sure you've booked ahead so no one goes for the stuff. One of the major things I also do is I try to understand the gig, and if possible, you can go to the location where the shoot is. It's very important because that also helps you to select the lenses that you'll be using for the shoot. So the next question is, where did the name 7 Senses come from? For this one, I am going to leave it for now. When I hit 100k subscribers, then I'm going to share with you where the name 7 Senses came from and the meaning of the name. So please subscribe, please share, so we get to the 100k mark and I would let you know what 7 Senses means. So the question is, how do you select your light modifiers? Which modifiers is best for what style of lighting? When it comes to lighting, is very broad. It's very, very broad, and even for me, I had to do a lot of try and errors, you know. So I think try and errors. So first of all, you just need to know how each modifier works and which one works in which situation, you know. But the rest is try and error and experience, you know. The more you use them, the more you get to understand how they work, and you know which one to use in which situation. So I think it's a more of try and error and experience. Yeah. So the next question is, could you do a review of phone cameras? Because in the day and age, most of us use our phone cameras for taking videos and pictures, and even for live streaming on our social. Could you recommend any phone cameras? Which ones have the best picture quality? Maybe you could do a review on phone cameras to help the rest of us. Yeah, I've been getting this a lot, so definitely in the future I'm going to make some comparisons on phone cameras as well. In other words, I can recommend some few ones. You know, right now most of the phone cameras are good. You know, the Apples are good, the Google Pixels are good, the Samsungs are good. So I think if you have any of these three, you'll be good to go. Now this question, during your Christmas episode, you said you were going to watch some movies. Could you do a review of the movies that you watched? Which ones are worth watching? Which would you recommend for others to watch? And which would you tell us not to bother watching? I think in a couple of weeks time, I'm going to be making more of those videos, you know, my filmmaking recommendations or movie recommendations. So I'm going to make some recommendations on some movies to watch. So that is one thing that I'm going to do in some of my future videos. So guys, that is all for today. Thank you guys for the question. You know, these questions were lovely questions. They're questions that I didn't expect people were going to ask me. Thank you guys for staying connected with me, for supporting me. This is a new year and I'm going to give you a lot of good content. If you're not subscribed yet, please consider subscribing and put on your notification bells so you don't miss my future videos. I'm out.